Hey there, and welcome back to the VEX IQ Guide. In today's video, we're going to be building a special kind of drivetrain, a chain drivetrain. The cool thing about the chain drivetrain is that you'll be able to change it to any speed that you want to gear it to with the simple change of a sprocket. So let's dive right in. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is making the side pieces of each side of the drivetrain. What we're going to be doing is using two connectors that are linked together by a 2x4. The reason that it's bigger than just a regular single connector is because since we're using chain and sprockets, it's going to take up more space. So we need to make this extra space with the bigger connector. The reason that we're using these three wide pins is because the sticking out portion of the pin is what's going to be connecting both sides of the drivetrain later down the line. So be sure to use these types of pins so that you have one part sticking out that you can use later on. Next, we're going to be doing the motor and the main sprocket. Simply put the motor onto these central holes here. And if you do a couple spaces off, it doesn't really matter. Then you're going to attach the shaft, and on the other side of the shaft is going to be two spacers before you put the 48 tooth sprocket on. The reason that we're going to be doing these two spacers is that you have enough space so that the chain on the sprocket doesn't hit the actual beam itself. Then we're going to be doing a shaft collar followed by another shaft collar and a washer on top so you don't have a lot of friction on the other side. And just to reiterate, this 48 tooth gear is going to possibly be swapped out later on because right now it's going to create a 3-to-1 speed ratio, but I'm going to show you a little bit later how you can change that. Next, let's get right into it with the wheels themselves. What we're going to be doing is taking another shaft, and you can simply count the exact amount of spaces that I do. I believe it's right after the 4th hole where you're going to be putting this shaft in. Then, once the shaft is in, it's going to be two spacers just like the last one, and these spacers are so that the chain doesn't hit against the beam. Then it's going to come our 16-tooth sprocket, followed by two more spacers, which do the exact same thing. They create enough space so that the chain doesn't hit the wheel. Next comes the wheel, followed by 4 more spacers, and then next is going to be the beam on the outside, which we'll put after the entirety of the drivetrain is done. Now let's do the exact same thing with the other wheel. Simply put, make sure that it's the exact same spacing from the other side, put 2 more spacers in order to create a lot of space between the chain and the sprocket. Then comes the 16-tooth sprocket, followed by 2 more spacers, followed by the wheel, followed by 4 more spacers, as you can see here. Finally, we're going to be doing the exact same thing that we did in the first step with that connector set of pieces which serve as the spacing for the drivetrain. Simply put that on the other side of the drivetrain itself, and then put this beam on to connect the entire thing, and make sure that the holes all align so nothing is misaligned. Now we're going to be going over how to get this chain on all of these sprockets. Simply put, you're going to be taking the chain and cutting it to the exact amount of lengths that you need. Also remember that when you're actually taking the amount of lengths that you need, be sure to go a little bit over, if anything. You don't want it to be too tight to the point that you exert too much friction on your build. Once you get the right amount of lengths of the chain, which you can figure out through trial and error, you're going to link it around every single one of these sprockets, which it should fit nicely around, and click on the other end. Just a reminder that you need to make 2 of these, one for each side of the drivetrain. So, if you haven't already made 2 of them, be sure to do that now. Now that we have 2 sides of the drivetrain, we're going to be linking them together. Now, all you have to do is take 2x beams and place them on the outsides of the drivetrain. They're simply going to lock in with the parts of the pin that we had left out earlier, and once you do that, make sure all the spacing is aligned and everything, and you should be good to go with a fully functional drivetrain. Now, I did mention that we're going to be going over how to change the speed of this. Remember how we put those 48 tooth gears into the motors? Well, what they do is they create a 3-to-1 speed ratio when they combine with the 16 tooth gears that are on the wheels. However, you actually have the power to change that. If you don't want a 3-to-1 ratio and instead maybe want a 2-to-1 ratio, just swap that 48 tooth sprocket with a 32 tooth sprocket because 32 divided by 16 gives you that nice 2-to-1 speed ratio. Now you know exactly how to build a customizable sprocket and chain drivetrain. And if you found this video helpful, feel free to drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. I'll see you in the next one.